But that's another area in which she has been involved, and of which we have quite a number of groups in our own community in terms of women's work and looking at the role of women and empowering women. So she has the ability to bring us together in many ways and hopefully inspire us to continue our work both locally and to connect and support these kinds of efforts nationally and internationally.
Well, surely that's an area too where there is a lot of misunderstanding and stereotyping.
And Antun was one of the subjects that he would concentrate on, that those stereotypes and misunderstandings, and he was so deep in those, uncovering all those stereotypes, bringing you the scholarly realities of the things from there more, and then that's what again here in that sense, and we are honoring Antun's memory.
I find her work in the translation of that comic book about the life of Martin Luther King Jr. Intriguing and delightful when you think about diffusing difficulties with young people in a format that they could embrace, and
that's definitely
that is how change takes place, and that's a great
and it
gift.
has more lasting impact, I would say.
She sounds like an amazing person to have come and speak.
Yes,
that's great. One of the things that this reminds me of to some extent is, or brings to my mind, is how we, in the culture that we're a part of, do kind of form stereotypes and misunderstandings rather easily. And I know that so much effort has been made since 9/11 to see the world differently. But our culture sometimes doesn't make that easy for us. We live at a pretty fast pace. I'm reminded of an incident that occurred fairly recently in the congregation I serve, in which people were trying to make a decision about whether to open the church to a forum about a rather controversial topic, and decided they weren't ready to do it, which in the short term was disappointing to me. But in the long term, opened up the conversation to how do we create a climate for us to connect with those we don't understand. And if that foundation isn't laid, then we tend to be fairly superficial. We tend to say, I respect you, and you do what you do, and we do what we do, and I really don't have time to get to know you better. I think is the way the culture operates at this point in time. But
I'm not sure our culture operates as nicely as you just said. I think that we are challenged to be able to get to know people as people and to respect them when they don't agree with us, when we see the world very differently. And we are very challenged by that in our world, and our models for talking with people and spending time with people who represent very different perspectives than our own the model is not there for that, unfortunately, and in the political realm and in many others as well. So I think we need to be very careful about labeling. Sometimes it's helpful if it helps us to look at how to work through something to use labels, but otherwise they aren't, because it just pigeonholes someone, and then we don't have to look at them as a person, as a human being, as we are. And so understanding when we have our limits and where we can and can't go as a person at a time, I think that's okay, but to realize that there needs to be another time when we can explore that. It's the thing of separating principles from personalities, I think, and understanding that there can be more than one way to look at something, and they can both be right. For different people, for different things. And yet the bottom line, I think, is how do we as a society, as a community, as an international community, find ways that we can all live and support continued life on this planet. Because the warfare and the attacks, both personal words and then of course the physical ones, And the wars just expend so much energy, and there's so much pain and suffering. And there just needs to be a better way for us to work things through. And that's what we strive to, I think, as people of faith, and hope that people will, from wherever perspectives they're from.
I think there is a better way, but we just need to work and then constantly, without yielding, just constantly work and bring that up. Because I think there's a kind of like a tension between in our life, like things that establishes in our life, we become more familiar with it, we feel comfortable with it. We don't want that to be looked differently. So then we are easy to receive the stereotypes as a reality. So look at the things, because it doesn't change our, stability that which we have, maybe in certain thought and certain ideas and certain cultural things that which we have. But I would say the best way to look at it also is just to step down and look at, as Rabbi Barbara mentioned, just like there's other ways also, and then look at those also, and then those other ways we need to look at them from their authentic point of view, not just
through their eyes,
as we will feel comfortable from ourselves, through their eyes, and from that, and then that's what becomes important from that, and just
seems to me that's one of the main things faith communities ought to be about, not just maintaining our own traditions, but finding the ways to connect with others and inventing them. It seems to me that the Children of Abraham has been one of the key organizations in our area that has really had that kind of role, taken that on and said, this is what we really are hoping to do, to connect people and to understand each other better, and not just superficially.
Absolutely.
Not just superficially. But to
that's
go deeper
that's
than
the reason when we spoke about taking these events that which we are doing into the level of the home gathering, and then speak to each other, and then to create that normality there, you just more intimate connections with each other, very informal speaking, and just conversing, eating together, chatting together, and then I think those are good things for us to do, definitely, and then we are very pleased to be able to have that opportunity here in this community, and then I think the Richard Anton would like that a lot.
I think you would too. I think you would too.
At the website, interfaithbroomcounty.com/Children of Abraham would be the place to go to express interest in participating in any of these home gatherings, which will be resuming after Ramadan again for the fall, and to get more details about this program for October 14th and any other efforts we have. We also have worked on guidelines for these kinds of discussions when you bring people together, because
could you describe those a little, Barbara?
Well, it really is about not trying to change somebody else, but talking about your beliefs and where you are, and the listening and the sharing. So I believe they are also on the website. So there are guidelines from many different places that are similar, and we've just sort of culled them together. We also have agreed for the Children of Abraham programs not to get into the politics, whether local, national, or international, but that would be a discussion for a different time and place as well. And so really it is people to people, person to person, and sharing of what matters to each of us with other people who also have things that matter to them.
We mentioned along the way a little bit of a common thread of welcoming and hospitality and openness being a thread in each of our traditions. Have other common threads emerged from some of the programs that have taken place? Can you identify some of the other themes that have been?
When we look at those values that are very universal, and those are so common among ourselves, and we in fact find the reference to those values in our own textbooks, traditional textbooks, and when you see them, they are all shared there, and then you easily come to the conclusion that those stereotypes that which we are nourishing in our larger cultural sense has no base from, you know,
Right.
from, it's very clear that we just need to be highlighted, maybe just spoken about it more, and then maybe made into our larger culture in a more and more stronger sense, so that we would not lose sight of that commonality, and then at the same time maintain our differences as richness, as you know, there are uniqueness in each and every person in one family, even,
Yes.
right?
Yes, there are.
And then,
Yeah.
you know, so therefore we are one family, right? Then we look at this also, family of Abraham or family of Adam and Eve or family of larger than that.
Yes,
we
right.
all exist, right, together. As when you look at it from that point of view, just there are commonalities, but we just need to highlight them more, and we just need to speak about them more, and that's what part.
So interesting to think
know.
that no one else who is walking the face of the earth or ever has or ever will
Right.
is exactly as each
Right,
individual is. There is this uniqueness
Right.
in people that we have to cope with when people are not in sync with us, and also in the ways we've ordered our lives
Right.
and our faith. So it's a challenge, but it's also an incredible gift.
It is.
Isn't
I
it?
mean, in one of the verses in the Quran says that if God willed, He would made you all only into one nation, but He made you into different nations, and then you know,
Right.
it reflects the reality of we are
Exactly.
different, but we just differences are made to know each other. Differences are and you know, be able to get together, do the things together with a different, unique person, but do things and then aggregate. And result of what we are doing is good for us all together,
Yes.
not just for one
Yes.
brother. You know, from that.
But we found, I think, in all of our traditions, there are texts and things to support peacemaking,
Yeah.
seeking peace,
Right.
resolving, pursuing
Yeah.
peace, and working to resolve
Differences.
conflicts and things of that sort. We had a program on days of meaning, so we explored Sunday, Saturday, and Friday as the different days of meaning in our different traditions, and looked at what they were about for each of us, and followed that up with invitations to visit different houses of worship in our communities,
Excellent.
with time to both get some orientation, but also to ask questions as well. And then we decided to do a meal together. We always had some refreshments, but we had one program where we sat around tables with people, with food, and the whole program was really there, and looked at the different traditions that we have for blessings in all of our traditions around food, and had something for before the meal and after the meal from our traditions as well. From
Another
all of
common thread.
Yes, you asked
the
about common
importance-
threads, so.
The importance of meals.
Yes.
It is so wonderful to know this program is coming, and celebrate the diversity of which God is the source, and to embrace that diversity and love that diversity. I really, really appreciate your being here and sharing about the program today.
Thank you. All pleasure to be here.
Yes.
In a sense, for us being like a children of Abraham, it's more giving more depth in
More
that regard,
depth.
because of we come from all same
Absolutely.